Good morning everyone, and welcome to today's video. I'm in between the immense silence of the morning. The birds are waking up. Huge trees which have become naked because of the autumn. And I would pick up something similar today, which is to talk a little bit about how things are changing in nature. I think if someone is a little bit awake, it's not so difficult to see that nature is ever changing. Okay? Every atom, every particle is changing all the time. The trees show the color, the change of color with seasons, which show change. The sun shows its movement. People show change with the age. So, in nature, literally everything is changing every second, every moment of time. Actually, that change is the moment of time. Otherwise, there is no time. Okay? If nature stops changing, then there will not be any time. So, the change in nature is quite apparent. And I think somehow during our evolution or the initial days of humanity, the mind was scared of this change. Sorry. The mind could see that it cannot trust anything because everything it sees, parents, family, trees, birds, stars, heavens, everything is changing. Okay? So, to trust something, it means that you can trust something completely. Then only it makes you feel like it's kind of a security, it's kind of a comfortable thing. But because everything is changing, it becomes extremely difficult to trust something. Okay? So, maybe eventually the mind invented the idea of the self. The mind invented the idea of the self, a self which is not changing at all. Okay? And you see this in our daily life. Every person thinks that he or she is the same person who has been living since the day of the birth. Every atom of the nature is clear evidence that everything is changing, including you. Your body is changing for sure. Your mind is changing every second. Sometimes you decide to do something in the morning and you don't do it in the evening. You have changed your mind. So your body is changing, your mind is changing. Maybe the mind was afraid of this at some point. And that's why the mind started creating the idea of the me who is constant, who doesn't change. Okay? To change your name every day, saying, things are changing, I have changed, so today I will put a new name to myself. It's a nice experiment to understand your mind, but it's just not practical because people will have to ask you your name every day, that what are you calling you today? So, from a convenience point of view, giving a name is fine. But to take that name too seriously, that's where the problem begins. If the mind totally believes that it is not changing, it is the same entity from last 40 years or from last 50 years or from last 10 years, whatever is your age, then the mind is going against the law of nature. Then the mind is trying to create friction in itself. The mind is trying to propose that it is the same the whole life. But the reality is that it is changing every second. So the proposed idea is always in conflict with the actual reality. You always think that you are a nice person, but you end up doing something which is not nice. So the idea comes in conflict with your reality, and the result is guilt or friction, resistance. The mind is divided into two things. The mind has one evidence from the reality that you are not nice, you hurt someone, but the mind also has an idea about itself that, but I am a nice person. Okay? So, if you will try to observe this, then you would see that how the mind has become totally dependent on this idea that it is the same all the time. So, try to investigate into it, try to observe it, try to look at it, that it is not the same every day. It is not the same any day or any moment. When you will observe it, your mind will actually start becoming more relaxed from the pressure of this constancy. When the mind starts to see that it is not the same, okay, it's ever changing, then the mind starts to accept the stupid behavior that it is doing sometimes. Okay? The mind is not just some sounds of birds from the top. Maybe they're also listening. So as I was saying, the mind is not just constantly stuck in this proposal that I am the same, I am this, I am XYZ, whatever is your name. So try to see this, that whole nature, including you, is the same in this sense. In the sense of change, everything is changing, and you are also changing. So just because you have a constant name, it doesn't mean you are constant the whole time. You are always in a movement. So try to look at yourself in that movement, and then you will see that you are just like anything else in the nature, from the point of view of change, from the point of view of time. Everything else is in time, you are also in time. Your body is in time, your mind is in time. You're not different from any other aspect of nature. So you do not differentiate yourself from nature. You do not impose that you are higher than nature or lower than nature. Okay? You see, you are simply just as those leaves lying on the floor of this beautiful park today. You see, you are just like those birds waking up. Okay? So, you are essentially matter. You are essentially part of nature, and you are changing every day. Who you are today is not the same you who you were yesterday. So, the things which were experienced by the past you don't have to be the pain of the present you. I wonder if you see that. What you experienced 10 years ago as sadness, you don't have to live that sadness today. That sadness was for the person who was 10 years ago, and that person doesn't exist today. That person actually even biologically has completely changed, as the whole cells are rejuvenating, the whole cells are in a flux. So the tragedy is the mind considers it's the same person. That's why the mind still lives the hurts of the past, whether it's the hurt which is 5 days ago or 20 days ago or 20 years ago. The mind cannot differentiate that actually the person who was hurtful in the past no longer actually exists. Because to do that, you have to break the basic law of nature. You have to be out of time. You have to stop changing and stay the same person who has been hurt. But that is not possible for you or for anything. What you will go through today, tomorrow, it's a new person. It's not you who is today. So don't carry the burden of the past. The burden of the past belonged to the person who was in the past. You only carry the responsibility of the present. I think that's really beautifully said and discovered just now. Don't carry the burden of the past. Carry the responsibility of the present. Okay? And you will see everything will change from this. You will just feel much lighter in your everyday life. You will feel much calmer. The mind will be more restful, because the mind actually accepts this law of nature, that it is itself ever changing. So observe this in your life. Okay? It's a very simple thing, and try to bring your mind in harmony with this fact that it is always changing. The body is always changing. Okay? So in a way, you are a new character every day, every second actually. You are a new person every second. Which is why you are always free from the burden of the past. Okay? Don't try to create a mess that you are given a homework, home task, office task, which you have to do in two days, and you say, it was given to a guy which existed yesterday, I don't have to do that. You can do it, but then you have to be ready for the after effect, because your office people don't think that you are everyday changing. For them, you are the same. Actually, for most people, they are the same for their whole life. So a person who knows this fact will understand you. But for the purpose of practicality, you can say, yes, I am the same person with the same name. But for the purpose of reality and actuality, you have to observe it in your life. So enjoy your day. The sun is rising and there's a beautiful pink on the horizon. The birds are waking up. I will continue my walk, and I hope you a beautiful weekend as well.